Alright, so I'm not a businessman, and I mean, this isn't a business channel. I don't want to sit here and pretend like I understand the world of transactions in business, but a huge deal just broke down from what it seems to have been yesterday. And this deal has obviously been worked on in the background for a couple of weeks, if not months now. I kind of want to talk about this business deal because it does deal with, media companies. But more importantly, I want to talk about it because it has implications on what could potentially happen for the future of one of the biggest properties in history. So I have an article open here from cnet.com. I'm not going to read the whole article because it is a little just too technical for me. If you are interested, I will link it in the description below and you can check it out for yourself. There are a couple of things I do want to point out in the article. That is why I have it open. So let's get into it. AT&T in 2018 bought WarnerMedia. They bought Warner Brothers. This was a way to get into the stake of online streaming, the platforms that Netflix and Disney currently empower today. To compete with that, they obviously started, especially if you live in the States, as you know, HBOMAX, which we don't get in Canada. Our equivalent would be Crave TV. Now, you don't need to be in the biz to know that Warner Brothers is a mess. How many CEOs inside of that company have their own agendas, their own plans? One CEO in one corner wants one thing, the other CEO in the other corner wants a completely different thing. The culture in Warner Brothers is a mess. It's not a great company. It used to be at least a decent company, and it's just not good anymore. And the biggest issue they are faced with today is the property of DC Comics. Especially for us DC fans, it has been nothing but a struggle to watch Warner Brothers from the sidelines absolutely butcher a franchise that could easily be doing just as well as Marvel is doing today. How they have not made any progress on that or limit the people who should be making progress on it doesn't make any sense to me and doesn't make any sense to any reasonable DC fan out there. So before we get into what I think could be happening for DC, let me just get back on track to the streaming services. When they started up HBO Max, they obviously wanted to compete with streaming services like Disney Plus and Netflix. Reading this part in the article here, it says, though interest in HBO Max appears on the rise, the company needs more momentum to reach exit velocity. HBO's regular channel and HBO Max, which launched in 2020, had a combined 44.2 million subscribers in the first quarter. But that pales compared with Disney Plus's 103 million subs and Netflix's 207 million subscribers. So I think the most important thing to take out of that is look how huge the number comparisons are for Netflix and Disney compared to HBO Max. And you could make the argument that a company like Netflix is at 207 million. Well, yeah, they've been around for years. But then look at Disney Plus. They're at 103 million and their subscription service came onto the scene, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Hasn't really been that long, and they're at 103 million. And I think the issue with HBO Max is it's already been a year and they're not even halfway to what Disney is. So how much longer for HBO Max would it take to get to 100 million subs and more? So of course, the debt that AT&T has received from purchasing WarnerMedia and just the fact that Warner Brothers as a whole is a complete mess and it is in dire need for change, especially when it comes to the culture of the entire company. They have made a deal with Discovery, and yes, I am talking about the company, the Discovery Channel, who, if you didn't know, actually owns a lot more things than you would think. Clearly, AT&T needs a backup plan. They need someone, a company, who can see the potential that Warner is worth and what they can do under the right management, and Discovery from the background actually sees what they are capable of, and they've decided to step in. The most interesting part about this deal is exactly what it entails from what we have been given as far as right now. So obviously HBO Max will drastically change when it comes to the content they're capable of showing. It will still be featuring things like HBO and TNT and TBS, and anything Warner Brothers has produced will still be on HBOMAX, but now you're going to be able to add things of what Discovery owns and what they have created. For the people out there who enjoy HGTV or TLC or Animal Planet, it will all be there for you as well. Now let's take in that AT&T did spend $85 billion, if not more, to acquire WarnerMedia in 2018, and honestly it has not been going well. Warner Brothers has just been all over the place with where they have dedicated their manpower to. Now this deal with AT&T and Discovery sees both of them coming together to create a brand new company, where both of their companies will not combine and become one, but they will be able to combine their own productions into this one company. Once again, not a businessman, but I'm pretty sure this is as accurate as it could get. I've got a low average IQ. I've never taken an IQ test, so I mean, I could be like an Einstein in the making. But until I take that IQ test, let's just cover our bases and say you're getting this information from someone with below IQ, okay? So this deal would see AT&T having 71% ownership of this new company, and then Discovery would buy in $43 billion, which would cover some of AT&T's debt towards WarnerMedia, and they would earn 29% of the sharings within this company. Now the interesting thing is even though AT&T owns more of the company, none of their CEOs will be taking reign of this new company. In fact, it will actually be Discovery CEO David Zaslav who will be becoming the CEO of this brand new company. It doesn't say it anywhere in this article here, maybe another article has it covered, but from what I've actually seen, he has even made comments, David Zaslav, that it is time for a culture change within WarnerMedia. And it does seem that all the CEOs and high executive people amongst WarnerMedia are getting kicked out. So now it's time for fresh faces and fresh blood. Now, as boring as this number talk and deal talk may be, this is why I mention this and why it's interesting to me, because if you're a DC fan, I truly believe that if there's any time to have hope and to think bright on the future of DC and Warner Brothers, it might be now. Anyone out there who has been supporting the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag, or anything to do with Zack Snyder, or just simply the success of DC, I think now might be the time. With new faces within the company and maybe a different company like Discovery coming in and helping out WarnerMedia really become what they can become, I do have some hope that this just might be a great plan and idea for DC Comics. And from what I've heard, DC will be being placed into this new company. Now, what will be funneled into this brand new company they're creating, I don't really know, and I don't even really know how it will work. If a DC movie were to come out, say for example, you know, at the very beginning of the movie when Warner Brothers pops up and then, you know, Legendary shows up or whatever, all those companies, I don't know if Warner Brothers would pop up at the beginning of a DC movie. I assume they would, but maybe the way it's going to work is Warner Brothers still has the catering rights to DC. They can still, you know, advertise and pump out content, but the actual production behind a movie or a show or even a game won't necessarily just be Warner Brothers anymore. It might be this new company. Once again, below average IQ, don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying words. Now, I'm sure that this is more than just DC. This is just the company as a whole and what they're capable of doing on streaming services and feeders and the properties they own. And quickly taking it back to what this could mean for DC and especially the Snyderverse. Guys, you can't go anywhere on Warner Brothers Media anywhere. I don't care if it's Warner Brothers America, UK, or Bangladesh. I don't even know if they have a Warner Brothers Media, but any Warner Brothers page you go to on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you go, Twitter, every single comment on every post they make are all about DC. It's all about restore the Snyderverse, make a Man of Steel 2, bring back Henry Cavill as Superman, restore the Snyderverse, 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 Snyderverse. Every single posting they put up is about the Snyderverse. Even things that have nothing to do with DC, it's all about restore the Snyderverse. And people can say all they want that it is these toxic fans who have too much of a voice on these platforms, but I'm sorry, in my opinion, it is your toxic culture within your company that has placed a gap between yourselves and the fans. Now, all of this numbers and business talk is hurting my brain, so I just want to mention one more thing that maybe this might be good is I'm not saying HBOMAX, which is automatically end up coming to Canada now, as if we need 50 more streaming services because I already own like 6 of them. But why I might find this interesting, or as a Canadian it might be interesting, when Warner Brothers has been releasing their new movies, if you're in Canada, you can't get access to the film. And at least with other streaming services like a Disney Plus, when they release a movie on the streaming service and it's a brand new movie, yeah, you have to pay a bit of a fee, but they're not charging you an arm and a leg. Right now in Canada, if you want to watch Godzilla and Kong or Mortal Kombat, to rent the movie, you have to spend $30. My guy, I spend $30 to buy your movie. That's how much I spend on a Blu-ray to own your movie. I'm not gonna spend $30 to rent a film that I'll only have for 48 hours. What am I, stupid? Well, below average IQ, so. I don't know, maybe Discovery comes in and says, Canada's got a big market. Why are the releases of these brand new movies only coming out for a smaller charge for Max users in America, but we're not finding ways to distribute it to Canada? I'm not saying I do this, but I am just saying, now you wonder why people stream your movies. Now you wonder why you might lose money from these big budget films because you're not making it accessible here the way you do in the States. It doesn't make sense. But anyways, that's that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I just think this deal could be really interesting because of what it could mean for the future of not just Warner Brothers, but DC. And I think Discovery coming in, I don't see how they could come in here and not see the potential that Zack Snyder actually has when it comes to his story for the Justice League. So that's why I'm saying, if you are a DC fan, keep that hope alive that we will get restored of the Snyderverse. But anyways, like usual, if you do like the content that I deliver to you, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to keep up to date with all of that juicy content I've got coming your way, make sure you leave me a fat subby. By that I mean subscribe. And just like usual, until next time, I will see you all very soon.